What is up, guys? Untitled here, and now I'm back with Wrestlemania 38 preview / predictions. So, Wrestlemania is this Saturday and Sunday, and this is a little bit earlier than I wanted to do it because as I'm talking now, it's Tuesday, but I'll be releasing this video on Wednesday. But basically, this is the only day I've got off until Sunday, so I've just got to get it done now because I haven't watched. So I know what all the matches are, but I haven't watched any of the Go Home Raw yet. And obviously there's still a SmackDown to go, so something might be added onto the card, but I'm thinking probably not. But if there is something else added onto the card, I'll just write the prediction in the comment section below. So you know how this works, don't you? I want to go through all the matches, talk a little bit about the show, the build-up and all that, and just give you a straight prediction. Now here we go, the most stupendous WrestleMania of all time. Is anyone sick of that stupendous tagline? I mean, in anyone's real life, have you ever heard anyone use the word stupendous to you? No. It's just, sometimes when WWE get the taglines, you just get so bloody irritating about it. And this is another one. So, am I excited for the two-night WrestleMania? Not really. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think this is the least build-up I've ever watched to a WrestleMania in all my life. I mean, on the night, the shows might actually be pretty decent, but I'm not really blown away by much on this WrestleMania. I'm going to watch it, obviously, because it's WrestleMania, and I haven't missed one for years and years and years, so yeah, I am going to watch them both, but I'm not exactly hyped for them, really, to be honest. I mean, obviously there's a couple of gems in there, which I'll get into as I talk through the video, but overall, the cards just kind of feel eh. Like I say, I'm sure some of the matches will be really good, but there's not much on here that I feel is absolute must-see. But who knows, on the night we might get some nice surprises and all that. So as I'm sure this is going to be going forward now, it's going to be the two-night format, which for me, I'm all over this because I just feel like if you have 2-3 hour shows, that's just so much better than the super long WrestleManias we were getting before this. The only real way I would accept it to be one night if it was strictly going to go back to the 4-hour format, because I just can't go through these 2-hour pre-show and 5-hour WrestleMania cards anymore. So I think that is for the best. And yeah, we're just going to get right down to it. We're going to start with, obviously it would make a lot of sense to talk about the Saturday show first and the Sunday show second. So, right, okay. So as of now, both shows have 7 matches, but obviously night 2 has the big segment between Austin versus Kevin Owens, which is sort of a match, I guess. So let's just get right down to it. Night 1 on the Saturday. Yeah, I'm looking at this card. I think, I would say this is definitely the worst of the two, to be honest with you. So we're going to start off with the match that was just literally announced like last night. That the New Day versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland. I don't really give a shite about this one. I think originally though it was going to be the 6-man tag with Big E and then Butch. Seriously, let's just sidebar said. I just cannot say how much I despise Pete Dunne's name change to fucking Butch. I mean, okay, I'm not a big fan of name changes anyway, but fuck me. Could you come up with something better than Butch? Are you absolutely shitting me? I'm sorry, I just hate it so much, and I'll be honest, I just don't have any hopes of Pete Dunne on the main roster. Honestly, I really feel he'll just get released this year. I honestly do, because I just can't see it going well for him. So yeah, this is what it is. I mean, obviously the biggest thing in the bill that happened here was Ridge Holland accidentally broke Big E's neck, and Jesus Christ, Big E's a very lucky man that he's not much more seriously hurt than he is. But yeah, I could see this one maybe going before the. Do you know when you have like the cool down match before the big matches happen? I could see that one happening here, to be fair. And yeah, the match will be alright. We'll probably only get maybe like 6, 7, 8 minutes, something like that. So it'll probably just feel like another SmackDown match on WrestleMania. So yeah, I think it's an obvious prediction. I think the New Day is going to win this one, no bother. To be fair, I don't really see Sheamus and Ridge Holland winning this one. And then we got for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. And this is another one, I just don't really care about this match, really. I mean, I personally would have liked it if they'd actually pushed the Viking Raiders properly, and had the Viking Raiders versus the Usos feud continue into WrestleMania, instead of ending a few weeks ago and then it becoming Nakamura and Boogs. But I'd have preferred that, to be honest with you, with maybe the Viking Raiders win the tag team titles. Like, I just don't really care about Nakamura and Rick Boogs as a tag team. I mean, I sort of get why they pushed Rick Boogs. He looks good. He's got charisma. He's all right in the ring, I suppose. I don't think he's terrible in the ring or anything like that. And this partnership versus Nakamura has been okay, I guess. And to be honest, I think Shinsuke Nakamura is just there now. He's just a guy in the roster who has good matches sometimes. But I think he's never ever going to get a serious push again. But I suppose he's he's in his 40s now, isn't he? So he's probably just riding out his contract, getting big money with WWE while he can, and then he'll probably go back to Japan in a couple of years' time. It's just mental. Like 4 years ago, Nakamura was getting ready to face AJ Styles for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, and it's just got worse from then on. What did he even do last year? I can't even remember what he was doing last year. He might not have even been on the WrestleMania 37 card, I don't think he was. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't on the 36 one either. But anyway, I mean, the Usos, you know what the Usos are like. Obviously, the Usos are great. The Usos have been a great tag team for a long time now. And yeah, the match will be at least solid, maybe a 3-star level match or something like that, because the Usos are a really good tag team. Nakamura and Boogs are what they are, but yeah, this is hardly inspiring stuff, is it really? I don't really, not really inspired by this stuff at all, to be honest with you. I don't see Nakamura and Boogs going over. But I just think it'd be kind of underwhelming for the Usos to lose the tag team titles to them. Who else has WWE got? Because I don't really want to see New Day win it again. And obviously it looks like they've give a thumbs down to the Viking Raiders. WWE aren't interested in pushing them any further along. Unless they bring someone up from NXT, maybe. I think MSK could be ideal, to be fair, to come up after WrestleMania and have a little feud of the Usos into the summer, maybe. But yeah, I've got to go with Nakamura and Boogs. I think that one's a pretty obvious one. And then, good God. I know I'm gonna sound negative a lot in this video, Anna, but I've just got to be honest. I can't really sit here and act like a lot of these matches are exciting when I know they're really not. But I think for me, the most underwhelming match at this WrestleMania has got to be Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Oh my God! I mean, look what has happened to Drew McIntyre wrestler. So let's have a look at this. 35 got a Roman Reigns' return match. Great. 36 obviously won the WWE Championship for Brock Lesnar in the main event. Last year faced Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship, and now he's facing Happy Corbin. I mean, this is a Vince McMahon match, isn't it? Is anyone really interested in this match apart from Vince? I mean, this feud between McIntyre and Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin just been going on far too long. I mean, it started at the back end of last year, then that led into WWE Day 1 where they wrote Drew McIntyre with a neck injury and he came back at the Royal Rumble, and they've been feuding ever since. I mean, they had that McIntyre Madcap Moss match. Those were two underwhelming pay-per-view matches, but it's Corbin, like, I don't know, I just can't get behind Baron Corbin. I think the guy's just so bland. Maybe he's been there for years, and I just feel like he hasn't really improved much since his NXT days. I mean, yes, he does have good mic work and all that, but I've just never really got behind him, and it's like I think he's had some dreadful feuds in his time. I mean, look at the feud he had with Roman Reigns. We're right at the end of Roman Reigns' babyface run, and I think that was 2020. Yeah, 2020, wasn't it? Then he had that god-awful feud with Seth Rollins when Rollins was Universal Champion. Then he had Kurt Angle's last big feud in WWE, his last match. So yeah, the match will probably be okay. I don't think it's going to be an outright stinker or anything like that. Like, I don't think it's going to be given a dud or anything like that. But yeah, I'm just not feeling this at all. And this whole feud just kind of seems to be dragging Drew McIntyre down a bit. You gotta hope after this is over, then they'll find something good for Drew McIntyre to do. Maybe get back into the WWE title scene or something like that, or have anyone interesting for to feud with, because he's kind of just been there since last year's WrestleMania, really, hasn't he? I mean, he had that really boring feud with Jinder Mahal. And then it was then he got drafted to SmackDown with not a lot to do, and then this feud. So yeah, this just feels like a downgrade from McIntyre having 3 high-profile WrestleMania matches and then this. So I'm just not looking forward to this one at all. And also, does anyone really buy Happy Corbin as a threat to Drew McIntyre? Anyone really? Not me. No, not me, definitely. So I think it's obvious. I think this one's an obvious one. I mean, surely Drew McIntyre's winning this match, right? I mean, it's really, really hard for me to believe he's not going to win this match, because this has got to be the feud ender right here, and they just got to move McIntyre on to something else. They really should. And then we got one of 2 celebrity matches over these nights, and that's Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus The Miz and Logan Paul. And again, I'm just indifferent to this one more than anything. I think this feud's been okay, the storyline's been alright, but again, this is one I'm just not really feeling, guys. And yeah, like I say, I'm sorry to be negative all the time, but just not into this one at all. I suppose one thing is really, really cool is that Rey Mysterio gets that moment of teaming up with his son at WrestleMania. I mean, that's awesome for them, to be fair. I mean, it should have happened last year. I mean, I still think because the Dominic and Rey should have won the SmackDown Tag Team titles last year, but we'll not rant about that one now. So obviously, WWE always gets celebrities for these WrestleManias, and I'm not a big fan of the Paul brothers at all, but give them the due, the stars, they know how to self-promote, and the personalities he has is ideal for WWE, really. I mean, was it him or Jake that was at WrestleMania last year? I want to say it was Logan, wasn't it? Because he was involved in the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn situation, wasn't he? But now, yeah, I'm sure it was Logan Paul. But now he's having the actual match. I mean, the guy's an athlete, obviously, so he's probably going to pick the physical side of it. And if you want to do a match like this, Miz is a perfect guy. Miz is just that good worker who knows how to get heat. He's great on the microphone. And he's one of those guys. I think the Miz is like one of those great performers that you can just put in any situation and it'll work. Because he's just so talented, especially on the microphone. He just knows how to get over, and most importantly, he knows how to stay over. And he always seems to make the best. I mean, Miz was in the celebrity match last year with him and Morrison against Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. So hopefully this match will be at least entertaining. I don't think it's going to be good as a Bad Bunny match, because I just can't see Logan Paul being as good as Bad Bunny in the ring. They did have that little storyline where they pulled Rey Mysterio's mask off him and all that, and that was like, oh my god, disgraceful. And I love how they act like it's mental for people to see Rey Mysterio's face, and I'm thinking, you just put the WWE Network, and watch any WCW show from 1999 to 2001, and you'll see it. But so yeah, I'm hopeful. I think this is a big night for Dominic. I think Dominic needs a big night here and a big performance, because I just feel like his career's kind of stalled over the last year or so, because he had that really super hot debut match against Seth Rollins, and for me, I feel at that point he should have went to NXT and developed down there a little bit more, but he stays on the main roster. I mean, the kid's only been in the ring for less than 2 years, so I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for him to go down to NXT 2.0 after this WrestleMania, stay there for maybe a year, and then come back. Maybe you can repackage him as like Prince Mysterio or something like that. Put a mask on him, and then he can come back, and then maybe in a year time he can maybe have a retirement match with Rey Mysterio or something like that. So I think the match will be at least pretty decent. And for this one, because celebrities usually win the matches, don't they, at WrestleMania, but Logan Paul's a heel, so Yeah, I've got to go. Yeah, because celebrities nearly always win the matches at WrestleMania, don't they? I can't think of many celebrities who have actually lost a match at WrestleMania. I don't think there has. Off the top of my head, I don't think there has been one. I mean, there probably has. I just can't think of it right now. But so yeah, I'm going to go with the Miz and Logan Paul to beat the Mysterios. Now I would say the rest of this card should be pretty good. So we're going to go with the match that was just announced last night. Seth Rollins, 2-beat versus a mystery opponent. Right, we know who it is, don't we? It's Cody Rhodes, of course it is. It's not going to be anyone else. I mean, it's a funny one because because one of the biggest storylines that I just don't like in WWE is when they have top guy, the company has no path to WrestleMania, and they go through all this shit, and it's like, of course he's going to be at WrestleMania. The first high profile I remember is John Cena at WrestleMania 34. It was like, of course John Cena's going to have a WrestleMania match, But to give Seth Rollins his due, Seth Rollins has been extremely entertaining through all that, and he's done his best to make it work, but just in a logical sense of thinking, why you just challenge someone then? Because him and Owens failed to win the Raw Tag Team titles, yeah. And then which other match did he try and get? He tried to get involved in the Edge and AJ match. And I think he tried to get involved in something else, but I can't remember what it was now. I don't know, definitely wasn't the main event. Yeah, because he had that match with AJ last week, but I'm sure at the top of my head he tried to find a path into another match. Let's have a look here. No, I can't remember. Maybe I'm just talking shit, to be fair. And then they did quite a funny segment. This was actually quite funny, to be fair. They posted on the social medias of Seth Rollins in Vince's office on Monday morning. And I just love how Vince is like, why didn't you just ask me? Just ask me for a match. You didn't have to go through all these hoops. And Seth Rollins like, oh shit, I am a dumbass. So I did like that. I thought that was quite funny. And then Vince just stated that he's going to be at WrestleMania, but it's going to be a mystery opponent. Now, I remember right back after the Royal Rumble, hearing the rumoured match was for Seth Rollins, was for Shane McMahon. And I believe that story to be true now. Because I just feel they wouldn't have fucked about with this and all this because they obviously didn't have anything Seth Rollins to do. And now let's just address the elephant in the room about Cody Rose and what I think about. Because I don't think I've actually stated on my channel my opinions on this. So, end of January or whatever it was, maybe early February, Cody Rose announces his departure of AEW. And then we all expected him to sign with WWE. And by all accounts, that's exactly what he's done. And you know what, for me, I don't see it as a problem. I mean, there's just a lot of diehard AEW fans that are so upset by this. And do you know what? If you're on the arseholes who's watching this video who's been harassing Cody Rose's sister over this, fuck you, loser. But so by all accounts, it was really came down to business more than anything. Cody Rose, from what I've heard, this could be all hearsay and all wrong. Cody Rose demanded to be the highest paid guy in the AEW roster. He wanted more money than both Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. Tony Khan disagreed and didn't renew his contract. So there you go. It's not personal. And let's face it, I think Cody, his refusal to turn heel and all that, there was just, where was the place for Cody in AEW now? I just feel like towards the end of his run, Cody Rhodes' segments were some of the most consistently bad stuff on the AEW TV, and he just didn't fit there anymore. And I feel like AEW has grown over the last couple of years with the likes of Danielson and Punk coming in and all that, and a few more stars being built. The Cody's value to AEW was not what it was in 2019, 2020. Like, to be honest with you, that's just how it is. So if you're Cody Rose and Tony Khan's not offering the money that you want, where else are you going to go? You're not going to go anywhere else, are you? You're going to go back to, if WWE is willing to offer you the money that you want, you're going to go there. And it's not that Cody Rose is disloyal to AEW and all that. At the end of the day, it's the wrestling business. This is a business where men and women are there to make the most money they can, to provide a good life for the family and all that. And yeah, so So Cody's coming back, and did we think this was ever going to happen? I don't think we did, but in this business you never say never, right? So this is 6 years, almost 6 years after Cody left the WWE back in 2016. And look, I think he's left the outside WWE scene a lot better than what he's found it, and now he's come back a much bigger star on main event money. So yeah, like I said, I don't think this is a big loss to AEW either. I think two years ago, like 2020 it would have been, but I think AEW's gone on just fine with Cody Rhodes, and it's a new chapter for Cody Rhodes in WWE. And how is he going to get on? I mean, this is a big test, you know. So Cody's obviously the first high-profile departure from AEW to go to WWE. So I think a lot of AEW talent will be watching to see how they do. So say if Cody Rhodes comes back, does very well for himself, that might persuade more AEW talent to make the jump to WWE after the contracts expire. Or on the flip side, if he comes back and WWE ends up burying him and all that, that'll dissuade AEW talent from making the jump. So my theory is they're going to do well for him for two reasons. One reason, obviously, to get him back. Obviously, we don't know the exact numbers, and I dare say the Meltzers and all that of the world, and the wrestler votes and the Saturns and the Saps and all that, they don't know how much Cody Rhodes is making. Whatever it is, it's guesswork. But you've got to guess he's coming back on like big money, or he wouldn't have went. So you got to think WWE brought him back on big money, and to get that money back, they probably want to push him to make something of him. So kind of like when AJ Styles went to WWE, he commanded a big fee, and they had to push him big. And then I think there's a technical side of it as well, because if I'm Vince in WWE, I'm going, okay, I will push Cody Rhodes just to send a message to the AEW roster that, hey, if you want to come here, we're not going to bury you either just because you work for AEW. So yeah, so how's this going to go? I would have rather preferred Cody Rhodes to have shown up before WrestleMania, but it's not a big deal to me that he hasn't. I kind of see why they would hold that surprise up to WrestleMania, but I would have personally had him debut on that Jacksonville Raw a couple of weeks ago, but that's just me. That's just a minor complaint. So I wonder if he comes down to Down Straight Kingdom theme. That's an interesting thought. Or is he just going to come with his old Smoke and Mirrors WWE theme, or a new theme entirely? Because obviously that Kingdom theme's the Down Straight thing, so AEW don't own that song. So surely if the price is right, WWE can get the rights to that if they wanted. That'd be interesting. Although I'm not going to lie, I would laugh my fucking head off if he just came back as Stardust. Like, not even joking, that would be absolutely hilarious. So what I think is going to happen though, Rollins is going to be in the ring, but I think they're going to troll first. I think they're going to play someone else's music. I'm not sure who, but I think they're going to tease it at someone else and play the music to troll the audience. And then when this person doesn't come out, then Cody Rhodes' music hit, then he will come out. So yeah, this could be a sleeper match, to be honest with you, because you got to think Cody Rhodes coming back to WWE, he's going to want to make a big impression. And let's face it, of all the complaints I've had about Cody Rhodes' character work in AEW towards the end of his run, absolutely zero complaints about his in-ring run. I mean, I think he had an awesome December, to be fair, when he had that match with Andrade, couple of that TNT title matches with Sammy Guevara. Hell, his last match was with Sammy Guevara, that awesome ladder match. So Cody Rhodes' in-ring abilities haven't really been a question for me. I've always known he's great. And let's face it, Seth Rollins is just one of the best all-round talents in WWE, isn't he? So if this gets a good amount of time, which it should, this probably will be an awesome match. So this is one of the few things I'm actually looking forward to. Though this should be pretty good. And then I think it's a prediction. It's got to be Cody, right? I mean, that just makes sense. I mean, it would be a bit stupid to bring Cody Rhodes back to have him lose his first match. I mean, when has WWE ever done that before, right? Lesnar versus Cena. But seriously, you got to think it'll be pretty dumb for Seth Rollins just to beat Cody Rhodes on his first night back in the company. So yeah, it's got to be Cody Rhodes. So then we're going to talk about the 2 women's matches and then the main event segment, and then we'll move on to night 2. So first off, for the Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. Now, I think this would be ideal opening match for the whole WrestleMania, because I feel like what they have done over the last few years is they tend to open up a big show with quite a big match. Obviously not the main event, but a good upper mid card match to semi-main event match. So I feel like this would be ideal match to open up the show, in my opinion. And this is another one where I think the build-up's been solid. I mean, I think it's been a pretty decent build-up overall. I don't think it's been great, but this isn't a bad storyline going in. And I think there is definitely some hype to this one. I mean, this goes all the way back to SummerSlam when Becky Lynch returned to take the SmackDown Women's Championship from Bianca Belair. So what do I'll give WWE for that whole Bellaire thing? That I'll never defend that SummerSlam shit, you know. Thought it was all terrible, everything how they handled it and all that. However, unlike Kofi Kingston when he got squashed by Brock Lesnar, WWE kept pushing Bianca Belair and kept the push going. So whereas with Kofi, he just went out the title picture completely and never even tried to get a rematch or anything like that. And it's sort of a similar situation with Big E when he lost the title at day 1 this year. He just kind of got pushed to the side. But Bianca Belair, no, she didn't win the Women's Royal Rumble, but she did win the Elimination Chamber match in Saudi Arabia to earn this match. So yeah, this match should be pretty solid. I mean, I think finally, after a few problems, Becky Lynch is finally getting there as a heel. I think she's doing a lot better as a heel now than she was originally. And I think Bianca Belair, she's one of those ones. WWE's pushed her strong for the last couple of years, and it's really paid off. I mean, obviously, she main evented night 1 of WrestleMania last year with Sasha Banks. That was a great match. So let's see how this one goes. I feel like I think this will be a very good match, maybe even a borderline great match. And as far as it's got to be Bianca, right? I mean, surely Bianca Belair is going over, right? I mean, there's no argument made that Becky Lynch should retain, right? I don't think, because if you think about it, she hasn't really lost a proper match in over 3 years, because she was the Raw Women's Champion for a full year and then went off to have the baby and all that and was gone for a year and a half, came back to SummerSlam, hasn't lost a proper match since. I don't think she has. No, she hasn't lost a match since, and I'm sure she hasn't. So, like, surely the time is now for it to put someone over strong, and there's no one better for it to put over right now than Bianca Belair. And obviously, say this goes on first, that would be the ideal way to open up the show with a big babyface winner. Because I think Bianca Belair's on the cusp of breaking through to that top tier level of women. Because I think the top tier women are obviously Charlotte, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and everyone else is kind of below that. But Bianca Belair is knocking on the door, and if she beats Becky Lynch, she can break through and get into that tier. So I've got to go with that one. And what I think will be the last match of the show, i.e. not the main event segment, but I think what will go on right before the main event segment is for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. And oh boy. So I think the build-up picked up over time. I really do. I think the last 2 or 3 weeks has been a lot better, but God, it was rough to get here, wasn't it? I think the start, the build-up was just so bad, and it just felt like such a weak match and all that, but it has picked up. One thing I've just noticed, Ronda Rousey's terrible on the microphone, isn't she? I mean, do you know when someone's reading a script and it's very obvious they're reading for a script? That's Ronda Rousey. She's like, Charlotte Flair, at WrestleMania, I'm going to break your arm. I'm going to make you tap out, because I am the baddest woman on the planet. Like, the delivery is just so robotic and monotone. Yeah, it is surprising, because she's come from the UFC world where most UFC fighters are big trash talkers and all that, but she just hasn't really gotten the groove of the microphone work in WWE, has she? And to be fair, Charlotte's not much better on the microphone, but I've enjoyed the physical segments, like when they've been brawling and all that stuff, and maybe we'll get one more of that on the Go Home SmackDown or something like that. I mean, Wouldn't mind seeing that. So this, obviously, Ronda Rousey made a big return at the Royal Rumble. That Women's Royal Rumble was just so underwhelming. Well, both Royal Rumbles were so underwhelming, really. And now we get in the match of Charlotte. So this is a match WWE wanted 3 years ago at WrestleMania 35. That was a big long-term plan, and then Becky Lynch got involved and got herself in that match. So WWE's finally got what they want. They finally got Ronda versus Charlotte at WrestleMania. And this match should feel a lot more bigger than it really is, shouldn't it, really? That's my opinion anyway. This match does not feel as big as it should do. This should feel like a much bigger match than it is. And this is one of those, I am confident on the night it'll deliver though, because Ronda's been back now since the end of January. So you got to think she's been training very, very hard to get back, because I think what was obvious when she first came back, she wasn't quite in shape yet, because let's be fair to the woman, she had a baby in, I think, last September, so now she's been out of the ring for nearly 3 years, so of course she wasn't going to look at her best. But I've got a feeling she's been training hard, she's been getting ready for this match. And let's face it, the match it did have at Survivor Series was awesome. And I would say probably Ronda's best match of that original run. So I'm quite confident this match will actually be probably very good to great as well. I feel like this also, because I think a lot of people are anticipating this match sucking. And I've just got a horrible feeling like the fans are going to try and hijack this match and all that sort of shit. But I hope they don't do that, but I can see that happening. But I've got a nice feeling this match will be great. I'm fairly confident it'll end up being a great match. And as far as prediction, got to be Ronda, right? I mean, yeah, surely Ronda Rousey's going over. I don't think Ronda Rousey would have agreed to come back to lose to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Yeah, I've got to go with Ronda Rousey. Surely she's got to. I think she's the most likely to win this match. And then because WWE established this fact now, this is going on last on night one, and that's the KO show of Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And oh boy, so the rumour mill went wild like in early February, didn't it? When the rumour was that WWE had contacted Steve Austin about coming out of retirement for WrestleMania 38 with Kevin Owens. And yeah, I think the rumour mill went into overdrive, didn't it? And that was one though, because it's one of those things like, yeah, it's like, it's kind of exciting, but at the same time when you think about it, Steve Austin's been out of the ring for 19 years. WrestleMania 19 was his last match. That was 2003. And do you know what? It's kind of occurred to me, really, that if you're under the age, you're 25 years old or under, you don't really have the same nostalgia for Steve Austin that I would you? Because say you were 25 and you started watching wrestling in the mid to late 2000s, or even younger than that, why would you care? Because that's the thing, like, most of the WWE fan base are around that age or younger now, so why would the people wouldn't be excited for Steve Austin coming back as I would be? And to be honest, 19 years is a long time. Is it going to be good? Was it going to be good type thing? So what ended up happening is Owens challenged Austin to go on the KO show. So I do feel like that's a good idea for WWE to make it big. Not advertise a match, because if they don't deliver, then they can't really get bothered for it too much. And obviously I don't know this, so this is just me guessworking, by the way. So don't act like I pretend I know what I'm talking about. So my guess at this probably was the WWE did want this to be a match. They did want Austin to come out full retirement to face Owens. But I'm guessing Austin toyed with the idea and just decided he either wasn't up to it or he just didn't want to come back and have a match because he just didn't feel like he could deliver. That sort of thing. So this is a compromise, a segment, which, let's face it, it's going to get very physical, isn't it? It's going to be, so it's one of those things like, I can tell you I don't want to see it, however, but when that glass breaks and Steve Austin comes out, am I going to get excited? Oh hell yeah, I am. So I am looking forward to seeing what this actually turns out to be. So is it going to be it doesn't look like it's going to be a full blown match, because obviously if it was going to be a full blown match, they probably would have advertised it as such, but obviously they're not doing that. So yeah, it's going to be KO Owens is going to talk trash about Texas. Austin's going to come out. They're going to have a few back and forth on the microphone, and then they're probably going to have like a 5-minute brawl around the ring and all that. because where Austin, he won't have to do much, just kick, punch and all that. Owens can probably take the bulk of the punishment. Owens might get a couple of licks in. He might hit a power bomb or something like that. But obviously WrestleMania, it's going to end with Austin giving KO the big stunner, isn't it? Austin's going to drink the beer and celebrate, and that's going to end up with WrestleMania. And you got to think, what a thrill it must be for Kevin Owens, though. So for Kevin Steen to start off in the indie scene all those years ago, and now he's going to get to work with Steve Austin at WrestleMania in Texas as well. Yeah, so I am fairly excited to see what's going to go down there. So now we've got through all night one, let's go through night two. And again, just 7 matches on this show. So if something does get added, I would probably say it's probably going to get added to this portion of WrestleMania. And again, I would say overall this probably looks like the better of the 2 nights in my opinion. I still don't think it's going to be fantastic, but just look at the matches. I feel like this show is going to be better than the first night. And let's talk about what I believe will be the opening match. And that's going to be for the Raw Tag Team titles, RK Bro versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. I mean, for me, this should be the perfect opening match. Right, sorry, I had to pause the video to sneeze there, so sorry about that. But yeah, I think this would be a great way to open up the show. If I'm honest, though, I think I'd have much preferred just a 2-on-2 match with RK Bro and Alpha Academy. And one thing I will say, I am so stoked for Chad Gable finally getting on the proper WrestleMania card. I mean, that guy's just so underrated. I mean, he's great in the ring, great on the microphone, believable. And yes, I know he's smaller, but come on, Chad Gable would probably beat up most of the roster in a shoot fight and all that. And he survived Shorty G, for God's sake. I mean, that could have killed someone's career, that Shorty G character. But he didn't suck, he wasn't a little bitch about it. He got on with it, tried to make it work. And now he's there for this Alpha Academy team of Otis. And they've done really well for themselves, and I'm really, really pleased for them. And for me, this is the perfect position for Otis, because I had a lot of complaints about Otis's 2020 run when they tried to push him like as higher than he was. When you wouldn't win the bank and all that. I never disliked Otis at all, but for me it was just like, this guy's just not a main event star guy. But I feel like putting him in a tag team and being the big man of a tag team like this, it's just a perfect use of him. And I feel like this. Yes, I know obviously when he was doing the stuff with Mandy Rose and all that was obviously a lot more popular and all that. But I feel like this is just so much better for Otis, I really do. And I do actually like Alpha Academy as a tag team. I mean, it's got that classic big man, little man formula, and it just works. So for me, I think they're just putting the Street Profits in there just to put them in there. And that's kind of a thing. I just kind of feel like sometimes at there's another match here which is kind of the same. They're just putting guys on the card for the sake of putting them on there, and I feel that's what they've done here. I mean, I do like this. I like Montez Ford. I'm not really a big fan of Angelo Dawkins, but I am a big fan of Montez Ford, and I feel like in this 2022, this has got to be a year where Ford kind of gets away from Dawkins and starts doing his own single thing, and then RK Bro. I dare bet a long-term plans were for Orton and Riddle to split and have this match at WrestleMania. And as we were coming to WrestleMania season, I was doubting that was going to happen, because I think most people were predicting this to be the WrestleMania match. But it looked like, to me, they weren't showing any signs of discontent, or they didn't look like they were building it was split up or anything, and they haven't split up. And do you know what? I actually agree with that. I think that would have been like terribly predictable if Orton had just turned on Riddle randomly in the build-up of WrestleMania. Because I think more than anything, what it comes down to is I think the fans just enjoy the act. I feel like the fans just enjoy Orton Riddle as RK Bro tag team, and they just don't really want to see them split up. And I think obviously eventually they will split up. I mean, because they just will, because they can't stay together forever and all that. But I think it's a smart move for WWE. If fans are really enjoying Orton and Riddle as an act, just keep going with it. I mean, you've got something that's working, keep going with it. And I just feel like it's been great. I mean, I think this is one of the few things about, especially on the Raw brand, that I've really liked over the past year or so, this Orton Riddle partnership and all that that's been going on. yeah, I've just really enjoyed it. I feel like Riddle's goofy personality with Orton's serious personality has worked. It's so satisfying when Randy Orton finally called Riddle his friend and all that. And you can tell, like, Riddle's just having so much fun doing this. And he's one of the guys from NXT who's done really well for himself. And yeah, I've got a pretty good expectation of this match. If it gets enough time, of course, it could get dicked for time. But I remember that match a couple of weeks ago with RK Bro, Alpha Academy, and Rollins and Kevin Owens. For me, that's my main roster of the match of the year so far. That was awesome. This one should be really good too. It's a prediction. Yeah, I'll go with RK Bro to retain because I think you can get some mileage out of this. So after this, you could go with RK Bro versus Alpha Academy for the next pay-per-view Backlash. Maybe you can have both RK Bro in the Money in the Bank, and then you could maybe think about taking the tag team titles off them in the summer to the build up of SummerSlam and all that. So yeah, I've got to go with RK Bro. Now this match was announced last night, and oh boy, this could be an absolute stinker. Bobby Lashley returning to face Omos. Why? What have we done to deserve this? More importantly, what the fuck's Bobby Lashley done to deserve this? So let's disregard the fact that this match has literally 6 days build up. I mean, this match, Bobby Lashley only returned last night to set this match up to happen. 6 days later at WrestleMania. So let's just forget about how dumb that is. I mean, you could you have not built a storyline between these two? So is Bobby Lashley a babyface now? I guess so, because I don't think Otis is a babyface. Because I knew they were going to get... Okay, so what I don't get right, so they're doing the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this Friday on SmackDown. Was there a better spot for Otis than that? I mean, would that not have made more sense to have... No, did I say Otis there? Omos, sorry. Have Omos in that, Omos be the dominant giant and win that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. You know that Battle Royal in memorial of the original Giant? You know? So, but obviously WWE knows better than those dumb marks, don't they? We want Omos in a wrestling match on WrestleMania. Says no one ever. So they bring back Bobby Lashley. And how long ago was Elimination Chamber? 6 weeks ago, something like that. Because what the crack was, he was supposed to be out for 4 months of a shoulder injury, but he's come back in less than 2 months. So I really hope WWE haven't just prematurely brought Bobby Lashley back early just to do this match with Omos. My God! And if you did have a match with Omos, this. This is gonna. I'm sorry, but this is just gonna suck, isn't it? I mean, I've got no interest in this match whatsoever. I mean, oh my God! I mean, I just don't see Otis being more than he is. Yeah, and he's still green and all that, and he's still got a long way to go as far as experience. But I'm just not convinced he's ever going to be more than what he already is. I mean, you got to think at this stage of Braun Strowman's career, you saw something in Strowman that was going to develop. I just don't see that in Omos. I just see a very tall wrestler with not much personality, not much coordination in the ring, not much natural ability. I mean, yeah, I just don't see it. And I just feel like if he was a normal sized guy, he would have already been chucked in the bin right now. But of course, because he's over 7 foot, and you can't teach that, of course, WWE's going to persist with him, try and make him a superstar. Hell, speaking of tall guys, I always thought, like, when Big Cass was young, I always thought he was a lot better than Omos is now. Like, when the Big Show, Paul White, was young in his career, I always saw a lot more in Paul White then than I do in Omos now. I just don't see it, to be honest with you. And I just don't think Bobby Lashley's really the guy that's going to get something entertaining out of him at all. So I'm just not looking forward to this at all. And I just feel like, So and I'm not sure who's going to win this one, because is Lashley going to come back to lose to Omos? But are they going to beat Omos this early? So I think it's one of those ones where it's kind of lose-lose. You're going to get someone complaining what happens either way. Right, so I'm going to cautiously predict Bobby Lashley, but I'm not sure about this at all. Like this is probably one of the ones where I'm just not totally sure about what's gonna go down. So I think Bobby Lashley's gonna win, because I feel like, especially if who I think is gonna win the main event, for like Bobby Lashley versus the WWE champion could be the big post WrestleMania program into Backlash maybe. And now we're gonna go with a fatal 4-way match for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Queen Zelina and Carmella versus Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler. And this is the definition of a thrown together WrestleMania match, to simply get all these women a spot on the WrestleMania card. The problem is, like, 3 of the teams aren't even proper regular tag teams. Like, all 3 challenges have just been literally thrown together to have this match, because WWE's done such a poor job with the women's tag team titles. I mean, I had to really think about who the hell the tag team champions were, and it's Zelina versus Carmella, and I can't think off the top of my head. I can't think of a single memorable thing about their women's tag team title run at all. And yeah, because I think until Ronda Rousey came back, was probably going to be Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks. So to me, this just feels like a complete consolation prize for Sasha Banks, just to get her on the card. And Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan literally have nothing else to do. So okay, we'll put them as a team then, fine. And Natalya obviously has to have a WrestleMania match, right? Apparently so. So she needs a partner, and Shayna Baszler's doing nothing because WWE's completely ruined her over the last couple of years. So we're putting them together, and now we're going to have this match. I don't really give a shit about this one at all. Although, to be fair, it probably will be very good, or at least good, because we've got some good talent in there, like Sasha and Rhea and Shayna, and I guess Natalya is a veteran. And I suppose Liv Morgan. So I don't want to upset you Liv Morgan fans. So I'll be nice to Liv Morgan today. But yeah, this match should be. I just can't say much heat for this one. I mean, it's probably not going to go long. You know how it's going to go, really. Everyone's going to get a little 30-second to minute spot in the match where they do some good moves. There's going to be a lot of dives in this one, like they're all going to dive out the ring onto each other. Then they're going to do that annoying Tower of Doom spot, you know which one I'm talking about, where someone's going for a superplex and then the other one powerbombs someone while the person's giving that person a superplex out the corner. We'll see all that stuff. The match will be okay. As far as a victor, I guess Sasha Banks and Naomi will probably win this one. Because the thing is, like, I kind of feel like Rhea Ripley should be going after the Raw Women's Champion after WrestleMania. And then, whereas I feel like the Charlotte Ronda feud will continue. So I'll go with that. I'll go with Sasha and Naomi to go over. Now we've got, how many more matches have we got to talk about? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, 4 more matches to go, so this video is going to go over an hour. But we'll get there. So, a match where, because one of my next match, Pat McAfee versus Austin Ferry. So my biggest complaint about this WrestleMania is who's really getting elevated at this WrestleMania. I mean, most of the matches are either with well-established veterans facing each other or celebrities in the match. So who's like main eventers facing main eventers, and none of the young guys are really getting a chance to shine at this WrestleMania. But the one guy I feel like is going to come out of WrestleMania looking good is Austin Ferry. Now this is just so funny and just kind of exposes how little the internet dirt sheet writers really know. So the rumored plan was for this to be Pat McAfee versus Vince McMahon. And I just knew that was bollocks. I knew that was complete bullshit from the moment I heard it. I just thought to myself, like, no way, no, come on. Why at any level would it be possibly Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee? Vince is 76 years old now. Why would Vince McMahon have a match at WrestleMania at his age and all that? He just wouldn't do it, would he not? It would just be stupid. And so I always felt, because when Vince was going to Pat McAfee show, that was obviously to help set up a WrestleMania match, and it wasn't going to be with Vince. So for Austin Theory is the most logical choice, and then that got confirmed. I think it was the next day on SmackDown where it was confirmed that it was going to be Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee. And I've got no problem with Pat McAfee having a match, to be fairness. I mean, Pat McAfee so far, I think he's done a very good job on commentary on SmackDown. Because I feel like Pat McAfee's got what either so many people in WWE don't have or not allowed to show his personality. He's got his own personality and all that. Whereas I think more than anything, it's not that the rest of the roster don't have their own personality, it's they're not allowed to show that personality. But so far, WWE and Vince in particular have allowed Pat McAfee to keep his personality going, and he's got charisma, hasn't he? And obviously, as an athlete, being an ex-professional footballer, he's had 2 matches in NXT, didn't he? I mean, he had the Adam Cole match at that takeover, which went really well. And then he was part of that War Games match with the Undisputed Era later on that year as well. But this will be his main roster debut match, and hell, what a way to do it at WrestleMania. And yeah, I think this is probably one of the matches I'm quite intrigued to see how it turns out. Because you know Pat McAfee's good. He's probably going to put in a very creditable performance and all that. And I think, I think Austin Ferry it's a good experience for Austin Ferry to get his first WrestleMania. Because Austin Ferry, you know they're very high in this guy, aren't they? You know, they do really think Austin Ferry become a big star. Can he become a big star? Who knows? I feel like he's got the look and all that. He's decent in the ring, decent on the microphone. I just think he needs time to develop more than anything. I think he just needs to find himself in the ring and on the microphone as well. He's very young as well, so it sort of reminds me of when Randy Orton was just starting out. I mean, you knew he had something, but he just needed time to find himself. And I think he needs a breakout performance as well, and this could be it. This will be a solid match. Should be interesting, and I think Austin Theory is going to go over, right? I mean, that would make sense for Austin Theory to get a WrestleMania win over Pat McAfee, because obviously McAfee's not going to wrestle very often. He might only wrestle once or twice a year at the most, so it wouldn't really make sense for McAfee to go over in this one. But we're going to go with Austin Theory. And this match right here is one match I told myself I did not give a shit about, I didn't want to see, but one of the participants in the match has made me actually care about it, and that's Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn. Like, honestly, like, when I heard about this happening, I was like, really? This is your celebrity Johnny Knoxville? Because let's face it, Jackass was popular, I went about 2002, 2003, so going on 20 years ago. So it's like, because I'm not really down with what all the modern kids and all that are into and all that. I just don't really know. I'm totally out of touch with shit like that. So I don't really know if Jackass is really that relevant anymore. I know they had a movie coming out this year, but I think the Jackass was more of an early 2000s thing. And now how old's Johnny? I think Johnny Knoxville's in his 50s now, so it was like, this is really the best celebrity you can get. But, however, Sami Zayn deserves all the credit for this. I'm not being funny, but Sami Zayn's, because if I had my own company, Sami Zayn is a guy I would want, because Sami Zayn just makes the most out of every opportunity he's given. So a lot of people would be kind of pissed off with stuff like this, but Sami Zayn's like, okay, you want to give me Johnny Knoxville? I'll make this work. I'll get fans excited. So, I mean, Sami Zayn's work in promoting this match has been outstanding. But just Sami Zayn's one of the best characters on the roster. I mean, his work's, it's just crazy, because I think I said this last year. I just think it's crazy to see how successful Sami Zayn has been as a heel. Like, when he came out the main roster, I thought, no, this is going to be that. This is going to be a babyface for life. He's always going to be a babyface, Sami Zayn. But no, he's actually had a great career as a heel. And I think he's done a really, really good job. And this was originally in a Continental title match, but I think Sami Zayn dropped the title to Ricochet. But I think that was the right move, because I just feel like this feud and match does not need the Intercontinental title whatsoever. And I just feel like it would have just would have made it a bit more complicated to have the Intercontinental title in the mix and all that. Because why would Johnny Knoxville be going for the Intercontinental title at a WrestleMania sort of thing? And the fact, I think it's a Falls Count Anywhere match as well, which is totally the right move in my opinion. Completely the right move. Because let's face it, a straight up wrestling match between these two would probably be average. But with a no DQ, no Falls Count Anywhere situation, they can get a lot more creative moves, a lot more shortcuts with weapons and big stunts and things like that, and doing some cool things. So I think that's definitely going to improve the quality of the match tenfold. the match will be what it is, because let's face it, Johnny Knoxville is not a wrestler, and he's like a 50-something-year-old man now, so, and Sami Zayn's not a miracle worker, so Sami Zayn will probably only get so much out of him. I mean, this is one, it doesn't need to be a great match. I think as long as it's acceptable, and as long as it's entertaining for what it was, I think it'll go down well. And as far as prediction, like I said earlier, celebrities don't normally lose at WrestleMania, so I've got to go with Johnny Knoxville to defeat Sami Zayn, which for most people would be bad. But I feel like Sami Zayn's so good as a heel and he's so good in his character, it won't really matter. Because I think Sami Zayn's one of those untouchable guys. I feel like you can beat Sami Zayn every single week. Then Sami Zayn can get the microphone and do his Sami Zayn shtick and stay over. So I've got to go with Johnny Knoxville. So we've got 2 matches. And for me, this next match is the biggest reason I'm excited for WrestleMania 38, and that's Edge versus AJ Styles. So, yeah, for me, this is going to steal WrestleMania weekend for sure. Like, over the 2 nights of WrestleMania, this is going to be the match of the 2 WrestleManias for sure. I mean, when I found out this match was happening, I was like, okay, now I'm interested. No, this is something I can definitely vibe with, and this is going to be one of those cool dream matches that, like I said, with AJ Styles, when AJ Styles was the guy in TNA and all that, so say it like 2008, imagine then thinking, oh, one day we'll get Edge and AJ Styles at a WrestleMania. It would have been crazy, right? And even when AJ came to WWE, it was assumed Edge was never going to wrestle again, so this was always going to be a fantasy match, something you could maybe play on one of your WWE 2K games or whatever, or something like that. Never did we really think this match was going to become a reality. I mean, what I thought with this year, because Edge has been back for 2 years now? Yeah, because first WrestleMania back was 36, wasn't it? Then he main evented last year. It was like, okay, then obviously I saw he's feuded with Reigns, he's feuded with Rollins. Who's left for Edge to face, especially on the Raw brand? AJ Styles. That was the match. That was a match, and I'm so glad WWE realised that as well. I'm guessing both Edge and AJ pushed for this match because this is a match they wanted to do together. And yeah, I think so. When I found out this is obviously the direction they're going with, I was pretty excited. I feel like the storyline for this one's been very good. Edge is now a full-blown heel, which again I can really get behind, because I feel like, because last year he was kind of showed some heel tendencies in the main event for WrestleMania last year, but it wasn't a full-blown heel turn, whereas I think this one obviously is, because now he's trying out a new character, he's trying like a new dark, brooding, evil type character, changing his look and all that, changing with some darker music and all that, the way he dresses. So I'm interested to see how that one turns out. AJ Edge. Wow, yeah. And AJ deserves this, doesn't he? I mean, come on, look, his WrestleMania match last year was a tag match of Omos against a New Day. And he basically took a back seat for a year, didn't he, try getting Omos over? So I feel like because of the sacrifices AJ made to his career, he deserves this big WrestleMania match. I could see this one maybe being fourth on the card, have a slap bang in the middle of the card, let this one steal the show, just let them do their things. I'm very convinced that these 2 guys are going to steal the show right here. This match should be awesome. Really excited for this one. As far as the prediction, I don't know. This is a very hard match to predict as well, because this one could go either way, really, because ultimately I feel like we're going to get at least another pay-per-view out of this. For me, you get 3 pay-per-views out of this feud, if they really wanted to. So I'll go with Edge to go over, Edge to beat AJ Styles, but I'm not too sure. Now the main event, now the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, right? For the match to unify the WWE and Universal Championships, WWE Champion and 2022 Royal Rumble winner Brock Lesnar versus Universal Champion Roman Reigns. And like I said, right, the biggest WrestleMania match ever, right? Wink, wink. Well, no, not really. I mean, there's only, Hogan Andre, Hogan Savage, Austin Rock, all those matches, Hogan Rock, Undertaker Shawn, Undertaker Triple H, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's just standard wrestling hype, isn't it? I mean, if WWE wants to hype this match as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, so be it. And this, of course, is going to be for both the WWE and the Universal Championships. And these apparently, they say there's going to be a unification match. There's only going to be one champion going forward, and let's see how that is. And yeah, I feel like, all things considered, this is probably the biggest match WWE can do right now. I mean, and to be fair, they have told a good story going into this one, so yes, I am fairly looking forward to this one. I mean, match is going to actually make history as the first match at a headline main event 3 WrestleManias. Because if you remember, Austin Rock did have 3 WrestleMania matches, but the last one, WrestleMania 19, was not the main event of that show. So only 15 and 17 main evented. And also John Cena versus The Rock, their main evented 2 WrestleManias. So the first one, obviously back in 2015, WrestleMania 31. Then 4 years ago, WrestleMania 34. And here we go. But I do feel like, this does feel like a big match. Fair play to them. I think they've told a good story throughout this one. And yeah, I've got no real problems with this one being the WrestleMania main event. I've got to say, I think the dynamics just work so much better with heel Roman versus babyface Brock Lesnar. And what a lovely surprise that's been. I was not really hyped about Brock Lesnar being a babyface at all. But he's done far better than I expect him to ever do. And what I do like the fact he's come back as a totally fresh, different character. I mean, if he came back and done the same Brock Lesnar shit we've been seen for years, don't think anyone would have cared. But he's shown an entertaining side of his character that he's never really had before. And it's one of the things, wow, never knew he had this in him. Always thought he was just the guy that stood there while Paul Heyman cut the promo. And yeah, I think it needs to be so entertaining, and obviously I think Roman Reigns just world class. But obviously, I think some of the promos he's cut and the build up of this match has been outstanding. You can just tell. I honestly feel like Roman Reigns is the best all round talent in pro wrestling right now. It's as a combination of in ring mic work, character work, all that sort of stuff. He just oozes main event quality, and this does feel like a big main event match. So it's been kind of a weird road to get here. This match was obviously supposed to happen at WWE Day 1, but Roman Reigns went down to Corbin, and Brock Lesnar ended up winning the WWE Championship that night. But then he lost it to Bobby Lashley, and then won the 2022 Royal Rumble. So yeah, he won the 2022 Royal Rumble to earn a Universal Championship match with Roman Reigns. Then at Elimination Chamber, won the WWE Championship. And now, originally it started off as title for title, and now they build it as a title unification match. Because like I say, I'm sceptical of whether we're going to only have one world champion, or if WWE is going to find a way to renege on that stipulation. And in a couple of months' time, we'll just end up with the title split again. That's what I think is going to happen. But I'm actually 100% all for the titles being unified into one. Because even at the start of this original brand split, I always thought, have one world champion, one women's champion, one set of tag team champions for both shows. And I just feel like that would be better. Because let's face it, I feel like it's been a bit of a struggle to find 2 good world champions for quite a couple of years now. And I just feel like you have one champion. That champion is going to be a lot more credible, and it's just going to make things a whole lot better, to be honest with you. So like I say, I have enjoyed the build up of this one, and I do think the match is going to be really good, maybe even great. I mean, I suppose it depends on Brock, doesn't it, really? Brock Lesnar wants to go out there, have a killer match, he's going to. If Brock Lesnar just feels like having his 7-8 minutes suplex city style match, he'll do that as well. So I think I said this when I talked about it in the Q&A last week. If I have to guess, I would say it's probably not going to be quite as good as a 31 match, but it's easy as it's going to be miles better than the 34 match. For one, most fans actually want to see the match. And yeah, like I say, I just feel Roman the heel, Lesnar the babyface, that's going to work so much better. I think just let these 2 big guys have a great brawl to close out this WrestleMania. Yeah, this does feel like the big WrestleMania main event, doesn't it? I mean, and I think that's obviously partly down to the fact that they've done a horrific job building talent over the last few years. Because I think they've got to the point now, especially on the men's side, where it's like Lesnar and Reigns are like in one tier, then everybody else is just below them. There's not really anyone else on that level. I mean, Brock Lesnar's Brock Lesnar. He's built his reputation up for years. Roman Reigns is obviously the top full-time guy in the company by quite a wide margin as well. Then I suppose after this you've got your tier after that, which has your Bobby Lashley's, your Edges, your Seth Rollins, your Drew McIntyre's, those sort of guys after that. But I think that's got to be the big focus of WWE over the next couple of years. Get guys up at that very next level, especially young guys as well. Like I'm thinking people like Braun Breaker and stuff like that. So that all being said, who do I feel is going to walk out with both titles? Yeah, I'll go with Roman Reigns. However, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion like a lot of people are thinking. I think most people are thinking like it's easily going to be Roman Reigns, but I'm not so sure. So it would not surprise me at all if Brock Lesnar did win this match. I'm probably about 65-35% sure it's gonna 65 to 35 sure that it's gonna be Roman Reigns, but there's definitely a considerable doubt in my mind about that. I do think there's a decent chance it might be Brock Lesnar, and hopefully it's a clean finish as well, because I think someone made that point to me that yes, Roman Reigns definitely does need to win this match clean. I don't want any shenanigans, I don't want any Usos runs in, I don't want any Paul Heyman turns or anything like that. I just want these guys to have the match and have it be what it is. So yeah, because I think they've been building this, haven't they, for years. I think this is like the final thing for Roman Reigns to do, to finally get that clean WrestleMania victory over Brock Lesnar, like with no shenanigans, no questions asked. I think that's like the final bit of making Roman Reigns the guy, and he is my final prediction for this WrestleMania. So Reigns is going to beat Lesnar. He's going to be standing tall, and then the WrestleMania is going to go off the air with The Rock coming out and having a big stare down with Roman Reigns to end this show, and that's how we're going to build to WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood. The Rock versus Roman Reigns. I'm going to go off that one. I think that was going to happen, and if that happens, that's going to end WrestleMania 38 on a high note, and that's a wrap, guys. So thanks for watching. Obviously, I'm going to be reviewing WrestleMania in slide form. Then going forward, I'm just going to continue the match pick series. That's going really well. That's going to continue going forward, and I've got some reviews lined up for after WrestleMania, which I'll tell you all about. And until next time, and peace.